Getting a home loan doesn't have to be as hard as you think it is. Matt Smith here at Matt Smith Real Estate Group with one of our trusted lenders, Ross Woods, Flat Branch Home Loans. Ross, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Love working with you and your team. You guys do a fantastic job. We talked about it a little bit earlier before we started filming, but sometimes buyers think that getting a home loan has to be difficult, or they need a lot of money down, or there's a lot of things that go into getting a home loan.
Sure.
But working with you, you guys make it pretty easy.
Right.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the whole process is designed to try to be as easy as possible. The biggest thing that we want is for our clients to be happy.
Sure.
That's what it's all about. So how do we achieve this? Well, we try to do as much as we can for them. So if there's anything that we can go out and do, such as collecting documentation somehow, we try to make the application super easy. So if it's easier for them to apply on their own, from their phone, or doing it over the phone, doing it over the phone with me, or doing it in person, whatever is easiest for them, we always try to accommodate.
Yeah,
so
love
the
that.
Customer comes first, no matter
Sure.
what.
Yeah, the client experience is number one, and I love that we have that in common. And so I think why we
Yes.
work so well together. So Ross, how long have you been a loan officer?
I've been doing this for almost 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
8 years. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes.
So what do you enjoy most about being a loan officer?
So I am a people person, and I enjoy meeting people, new people every
Sure.
single day. So the cool thing about this job is literally I talk to tons of different people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's never the same person except for, clients that we have under contract. Yes, I'll talk to them throughout the process.
Sure.
But meeting new people is, for me, I just absolutely enjoy that.
I'm just curious, what's the average day and number of phone calls for Ross look like?
It's a lot. My phone is constantly ringing, so honestly, I probably get well over 100 phone calls a day. I would say well over 150, 200 text messages a day. So my phone is constantly going
Sure.
off.
Yeah.
But that's okay, I enjoy it.
Yeah, and I know that we've talked about this too offline, is that you pride yourself in always being able to get a hold of, being
Yes.
very easy to get a hold of, both for
Yes.
clients, for agents, et cetera, just to make sure that customer service always remains number one.
Yes. Yep. So whenever I actually got into this job, I started asking realtors, what's the absolute biggest pain point that you have? And it was always the same answer. They couldn't reach their loan officer.
Yep.
So I made a commitment to myself almost 8 years ago that I was going to be the most accessible loan officer, hopefully on the planet.
Yeah.
So I try to have response times within 60 seconds of any text message or phone call that I ever get, and I've been doing that for a very long time now.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, man. And it's to have the accessibility to a loan officer with the knowledge you have, the programs you guys have at Flat Branch, it just makes this process so easy.
Yes. Yep. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah. So Ross, for someone that's watching this and maybe doesn't really understand what a loan officer is or what they do, let's give them some education. What is a loan officer?
So that's a good question. There's a lot of different pieces that come to this puzzle to being a loan officer. So our team is structured to a point to where we have so many people on the team that we delegate things. So for myself personally, I'm the one that's in charge of that first client contact. I'm the face of the team. So I'm the one that's trying to get my face out there, networking as much as possible, just trying to bring in deals. But there's a lot more that goes into it. So we have behind the scenes as well. So the non-loan officers on the team, but the thing is there's a lot of loan officers that do these jobs. So for me personally, I like to delegate things just so that way not one person is ever overloaded.
Sure.
But when it comes down to it, I take applications. Other than the networking and stuff, I do the applications. I will pre-qualify individuals. I will set them up for a full pre-approval, so collecting the documentation.
Yeah.
And I'll pass it to my team, who then helps with the collection of the documentation and getting it to underwriting and hopefully getting them fully approved prior to contract is the goal.
Yeah, for sure. If someone is watching this and they were like, well, I don't need a loan officer.
Right.
Why is a loan officer important to the average consumer that's looking to buy a house?
So the best way to describe this is if I went to a mechanic's shop and I started looking underneath the hood, I would have no idea what I was looking at.
Same.
So basically having an expert in the field that knows what they're doing, that knows each and every single loan product and can look at a file, the overall integrity of a file, and be able to determine, hey, this loan product is going to fit you best, and here's why.
Picking the best product, but also maybe there's a product that can save them some money, right?
Exactly.
Or a product that maybe they, I love being in real estate because I get to help people with the biggest purchase or sale of their life, right?
Yes.
And it's really, really important to me that they get good service. And so one of the things that I think think is really important for me, and I think that getting partnered with the right real estate team, also with the right loan officer, is making sure you know what your options are.
Exactly.
Like real estate loan officers, it's not a one size fits all, right? Like a lot of people still think I need 20% down to buy a home, or I need perfect credit.
Right.
Like, and neither one of those are true. Right? There's different programs, there's different options for different people. And so I always encourage people, it's never too early to talk to a real estate agent. It's never too early to get pre-approved. You can get pre-approved in as quick as 15 minutes over the phone, if not quicker, right? And all that we do is tell you what your options are.
Exactly.
And it's so important to know when you're making a big decision like buying or selling real estate, you need to know what your options are.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think just like you said, focusing on the client, what's going to work for them, what will make them happy, and what will be the best product for them. It's giving them knowledge.
Sure.
You know, filling their heads with important things that are going to give them the best loan product.
So Ross, you're with Flat Branch Home Loans.
Yes.
And so I know one of the things that we've talked about before is like your ability to make sure to compete with rates and give people the best options. And so if you don't mind, talk a little bit about that and how Flat Branch Home Loans helps you do that.
Yeah, so I'm extremely fortunate. Flat Branch Home Loans provides so much value to this process. And one of the biggest things is we're super competitive on our interest rates, we're super competitive on our closing costs. I mean, there's constantly headhunters that are reaching out to me, and it's honestly, there's never been one time that I've considered even slightly to jump ship, just because Flat Branch is extremely competitive. They make sure that our interest rates are probably not going to be the lowest out there, and I'll be fully honest about that, but they're at that sweet spot to where we remain extremely competitive.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's important too that when someone's looking to purchase a home, it's a big decision,
Yes.
right? And so having a company with a great reputation, making sure you have the right loan officer, making sure you know your options. I would urge people, like, we want you to get the best deal, but sometimes cheaper is not better.
That's true.
Right? And so there's you get what you pay for. And so
Exactly.
I would never say go with the highest interest rate,
Sure.
but sometimes there's a level of service. There's hidden fees that maybe get thrown in, and there's a lot of different things that happen that could be a red flag at the end for a buyer that they're not prepared properly.
Yep, I agree with you.
So let's talk about the pre-approval process. A lot of people get overwhelmed by what's the first step. And what I like to tell people is the first step is to get pre-approved, right?
Right.
I would like to say the first step is to pick a real estate agent, which I think a good real estate agent will give them a good loan officer.
Yes.
But when you get in that combination, you need to get pre-approved so you can see what your options are. So let's talk about the pre-approval process, and if we can even enhance on that, what if someone's scared to get pre-approved? Maybe their credit isn't perfect or they don't have a down payment. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, you can't know unless you try. I have countless clients that will come to me and say, well, I'm pretty sure my credit is a 550, and it turns out maybe they're at a 610 or a 630 or wherever that number is. It's always very important to at least see what your options are. So if you're not at the point to where you're going to qualify right now, it's not going to be a situation where you're never going to hear from me again. So what I do in those situations is I try to take, as much information as I possibly can, say, you're not going to qualify right now, but here's why, and here's how we can get you there.
Sure.
So as far as credit goes, if they're under our threshold for our minimum credit score, we have a credit simulator that our company helps us out with, and it's a fantastic tool. And as long as they follow the advice within a certain time frame, the credit has the ability to go up to a certain number, whatever that magic number is.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's giving people that option, right? If
Yes.
I always say you have to start somewhere, and the first step is to get pre-approved.
Yes.
If you're scared to get pre-approved, I could argue it's even more important to get pre-approved.
Right.
So even if you're not approved, you know what steps you need to take so you can buy a home.
100%, I agree.
And I love that you're able to walk them through that process and give them exact proven steps of if you do A, B, C in 3 months, you'll be in a position where you can buy a home.
Right.
So Ross, it's no secret in this current economy that we're in, there's inflation on the rise, there's talks of recession, interest rates have increased. And so I'm just curious, what have you and your company done to be able to combat that, to give the consumer options to buy in this marketplace?
Yeah, good question. So you are 100% right. Rates right now are putting people in a position to where they can't afford the payments in some cases, and they don't want to reduce the sales price of the house that they're wanting to purchase because it's not what they're wanting. So what did we do? We came up with a program. It's called our buy down program. So the way that it works is we've got 3 different options. We've got a 3-2-1 buy down, we've got a 2-1 buy down, and a 1-0 buy down. So essentially the way that this entire product works is it's built to lower your payment for a temporary period of time. So it's prepaid interest is what it is. So whether it's 3 years, 2 years, or 1 year, depending on which program that you use, we have the ability to essentially be able to drop the interest rate. Let's say that the base rate today was 6%. Well, if we did the 3-2-1 buy down, your payment for the entire first year would be 3% less. So 3%. So that's
Gotcha.
a massive
Wow.
drop on a payment. The
It is.
next year would be 2% less. And then the next year after that would be 1% less. And then you would resume back to that normal interest rate. But the whole idea behind it is very likely rates are going to go down by then. So there's probably not anybody that's ever going to get to that final base interest rate.
Sure.
Very likely the economy will recover by the next 4 years or however many years, and rates will come back down to where people will be refinancing.
Yeah, I love that. And what I've experienced from the real estate side is there's been times, or a lot of times, as this market is adjusting, that some of our buyers have been able to get those programs at no cost to them.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
It's been fantastic.
Yeah, and so it's I'd said this before in a previous video, but I'd love your opinion on it. Is I'm a numbers guy,
Yes.
right? I think that you're a stats guy as well. Is that I'd actually ran some scenarios for some buyers,
Yep.
and now versus 6 months ago. And for some situations, it is better to buy now than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of programs like that.
Yeah, so I mean, the programs, I always go worst case scenario with my clients. It's very important that we cover that, hey, if the economy doesn't rebound, there's a chance that your payment could go to this number.
Yep.
So we always have that conversation. And if they're not comfortable with it even slightly, we won't proceed with it.
Sure.
They have to be 100% comfortable, but you are correct. There's a lot of people that are in positions right now that are getting better payments than they would have caught 6 months ago because of these types of programs.
Yeah, and it's not just the payment. It goes deeper than that,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so I'm gonna go a little real estate knowledge here, and hopefully this is helpful, is that 6 months ago, houses were selling with multiple offers.
Yeah.
Sellers weren't willing to negotiate. They were having to waive inspections in some cases. There were no closing costs or concessions from the seller to be offered. The tides have turned a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's not like completely turned, but it's just more normalized is the
Right.
term that I use. And sellers are a little more lenient to maybe pay some concessions,
Right.
maybe to not only accept full price or above, and you don't have to compete with multiple offers in a lot of cases.
Right.
And so running those certain scenarios, it's something that I would recommend you guys look very seriously, and getting with Ross, getting with us here at Matt Smith Real Estate Group to see what your situation is, to see if now is still a good time for you to purchase, because there
Right.
are great programs. So Ross, if someone needs a loan, what's the best way? I said if they need a loan, but let me correct myself. If they need a loan, if they're curious, they just want to discover more, they want some more education or knowledge on this subject, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Whatever works for you guys. So I mean, if that's email, phone call, text, it doesn't matter. I will respond almost immediately. That's one of my mottos, is try to be available pretty much all the time. And the number below, 573-644-2237, is the best way to contact me.
Awesome. Well, Ross, thank you so much for taking your time, sharing this knowledge and information. Like I said, guys, if you're watching this, hopefully you trust Matt Smith Real Estate Group and the brand that we put in the marketplace. I'm telling you, Ross is here for a reason. We trust him. He's one of our trusted vendors, one of our trusted partners. So please reach out to him if you're curious about a home loan. He won't steer you wrong, and he will absolutely get you on the right path.